Hello, everyone. Today we are going to talk about a lead in development, as we did in our last video, what to do with it. But we are going to discuss um, using a leading development or playing with the leading development from a closed position. So we're looking at the game from Kharkov, 1956, between Nezmetdinov with the white pieces, one of the great attacking players of that generation, and with the black piece is a player named Chistiakov. All right, so let's get right into it. The game started off e4, e6, d4, and d5. So the black player playing the French defense is definitely playing it coy and probably would prefer to play a closed game. That's usually why players will play the French defense, like in e6. Although e takes d5 is possible, leading to the exchange variation, it's known to be very drawish. Most players trying to go for a win will not exchange with the white pieces on d5. So Nezmetdinov plays knight c3. And why do I say he's one of the great attacking players? He has several legendary games to his credit. The first one that comes to mind that you might want to look up is Nezmetdinov versus Pogoyevsky. Great game, and he's also has a plus score versus another great attacking player, Mikhail Tal, former world champion. So he was definitely an aggressive player, and this game is interesting to me uh, because of how he plays against a player that really doesn't want to open the position too much. Let's see how he imposes his will, so to speak. So knight f6, and this is all theory so far. Bishop g5, bishop b4. This is known as the McCutcheon variation if you want to research it. So e5 is played, h6, bishop d2. Now this game was played in 1956, so Chistiakov played an old school move, knight fd7, which is, just basically losing the tempo here. Nowadays, you're definitely going to see bishop take c3 first, right? And then after b takes c3 or bishop takes c3, then the knight is just going to hop in here. That's more of how play would go nowadays. So perhaps here, bishop d3 attacking the knight, and then knight d2, queen d2, and then c5. All right, that's more of how things would go in the modern era with the, pretty much equal game. Okay, plenty of play here. But knight fd7 was played. Of course, it's not an end all, end all be all type of move, but it's just not in something that would be played at the top levels today. This move allowed white to play for initiative and play queen g4, attacking the weakness here. But no biggie, bishop f8. Now you might be saying, wait a minute, what's going on with black's development? Yes, he's behind in development, but the position is closed. And when the position is closed, you can get away with these type of moves. It's not a big deal. The key is, again, if you watched my last video, you will know the key is it's not just about having the lead in development, but you have to somehow have access to the king. And usually you have to get behind the pawns in order to have access to the king. So yes, white has a lead in development. You can see his queen is out, knight and bishop, and he's ready to castle queen side if he wants to. And black only has his knight on d7, so that's not, can't even really be considered developed, because that knight is going to have to move again to really partake in the game. However, since the position is blocked and closed, black is not in great danger here. All right. So knight f3, c5. This is all, typical French play. If you play the French, you will recognize this, right? Attacking the pawn chain at its base. All right. Now, in hindsight, we can recommend a6 first, and then followed by c5, and you'll see why in a second. Nezmetdinov keeping his eyes open for opportunities, plays knight b5. Why is that? Because he's putting pressure on the black king by threatening to play knight d6, which practically forces this move right here. Bishop takes d6, and it opens up an opportunity for white to attack on g7. All right. Now, there is another idea with this move also, besides just the simple threat of knight d6. Okay. The other idea is to open up the position by playing c4. Remember, if you have a lead in development, you must find a way to get the position open. That is, or else your lead in development is useless, right? So if you race to get the pieces out, but then don't find a way to break through your opponent's position, he's going to just catch up in development. Simple as that. So just remember that if you don't learn anything else from this video, if you have a lead in development, you have to find a way to get that position open before it's too late. Okay, so how did black deal with this problem of the knight coming here and losing his dark square bishop and g6 being attacked? Well, he just simply played g6. So now, if knight d6, of course his idea is if knight d6, then he'll just play bishop d6. Right, bishop takes d6 and not have to worry about this. Okay. Just for example, if knight c6 here, say he tried to just ignore it, then knight d6 check, right, which is just terrible. If king e7, then just you just take the pawn here. So bishop takes d6, and you don't have to capture automatically. Play queen takes g7, attacking the rook. Okay. Another move instead of g6 here to be considered is definitely c takes d4, because this knight can't capture here, right? So play might say go here, knight b takes d4, and knight c6 with this double attack here, and it might force that. And that's some kind of typical play. Notice this is good for black. And when I say good for black, I don't mean black is better. I mean it works out for black because in the strategical sense, because he gets to keep the position closed, as I stated before, is very important as he's still behind in development. For example, white plays bishop d3, queen c7. Again, the position's still closed. He's putting pressure on this pawn. And what does white do here? He can play bishop c3 and try to hold on to this pawn, or he could just castle and perhaps try to gambit. But this looks all right to me for black. Right, that's just a little sample line. Again, if c takes d4, maybe he can just sacrifice again, try anything to get the position open. Bishop takes. And the problem now is if queen takes g7, then it's a slick move here for black. Bishop g7. And now, if knight takes e5, then just queen e5. And everything just gets traded off. So that's probably the move we could recommend there is taken in the center, right? Instead, black played g6. Nezmetdinov kept going with the bishop d3. Problem now is that after weakening himself with g6, now bishop d3 is a threat. So we all learn when we're first starting to play chess, you know, that it's great if you can develop with a threat, and that's exactly what what white has done there. Rook g8, dealing with the threat. Okay, so black is dealing with the threats, but his pieces are uncoordinated. All right, his development is messed up. So again, You could probably say it without me having to say it. What must white do? He must find a way to open up the position. So, with all of that said, the next move is obvious. He has to make this break. There's only a few breaks in the position. One is C4, the other is D takes. All right. Move is very important because, again, if you're thinking in the right way, you understand that after meeting this threat of bishop takes G6 with rook to G8, obviously the next move black wants to make is a move like C4, right? Closing up everything. So C4, C takes D4, C takes D5. Nice C5, trying to gain some clout off that bishop there. Nezmetdinov just simply plays queen takes D4. E takes D5. And now knight D6. Okay, and it's a very, very strong move. Again, it pretty much forces open the position here. This knight is threatened, right? Bishop takes, E takes. Knight is threatened here. Queen takes, and now castle. And look at the king caught in the middle of the board. Black tries to trade off. Knight takes D3. Queen takes D3. Again, desperately trying to catch up in development. Rook Fe1 check. Bishop E6. So black is almost out of trouble, and he's up a pawn to boot. Okay. But now knight D4. Now, what white is doing here is he wants to eliminate the defenders of the king. Okay, so G5 is played. Why G5 instead of just castling? Well, the problem is if he castles here, then rook AC1. All right, and that's a problem. Let's say after rook D8 here, then you just play knight takes C6 here, and this is kind of brutal. And you can see black is in all kind of trouble. So he tries to avoid moving the king. So rook AC1, and now king D7. So he's trying to be, fancy, right? He's trying to be modern to get the king out, the king out of danger, connect his rooks. Now Nezmetdinov plays strong move, again forcing black's hand here by playing knight F5, attacking the queen and this pawn. He doesn't want to exchange his bishop, so he plays queen F8 to protect his pawn and his queen. Queen B5, and notice how white keeps the initiative rolling. Rook C8, and now queen takes B7 check. Okay. Rook B8 is of course possible, but rook E5 is pretty strong here too. And this knight can't capture the rook because of the pin here. If a move like A6 here, then just rook takes D5. And this game is pretty much over at this point. I mean, where do you go? King E8. And you just start taking everything. And mate is coming up in short order. So back to the game. Queen B5, rook C8. Queen takes B7, rook C7. The queen came back to pinning duty. If bishop takes F5 here, after queen B5, A6 was played. So if bishop takes F5, then just queen takes D5. So queen B5, A6. Queen D3. Notice Nezmetdinov didn't get greedy and play queen takes a6. He could have did it, but again, that's just distracts him from this variation where he can take here. And I mean, black is still busted even after bishop takes f5 here. And the reason is after rook c7, then queen d5, king c8, and the king is just basically too open to get away from the attack. Again, back to the game. So after queen b5, a6 was played, queen d3, queen b8, knight takes, rook g6, and usually in these type of positions where the pieces are all uncoordinated, there's tactical blows here, and of course a player like Nezmetdinov is going to find it. He plays knight takes f7, a very strong move, just opening up the king. Of course, something has to be done about this. This rook is unprotected. So now bishop takes f7, queen f5. Notice the bishop can't come back because the rook is hanging. So the king has to move. King f8. If king d7, then just bishop takes g5. If king d6, bishop takes g5. Sorry. Bishop f4 is also possible. Back to the game. Queen f5, king d8. And again, tactical blows are always available in these type of situations. You just have to be strong enough to find it. There's all types of motifs. So for instance, after what happened in the game was rook c takes c6, and then just simply bishop f5, bringing a5 check, bringing another piece in, queen c7, and it was just all she wrote. King c8, and just bishop takes c7. After queen f7 here, notice the queen can't move because of the pin, and if he takes here, then just rook e8 is mate. Thank you. Let's look at this variation again. So after king d8, rook takes c6 by Nezmetdinov, and he chose rook c6. If he takes with the other rook, right, rook g takes c6. This leaves this pawn unprotected, and this dark square bishop can just capture here. Bishop takes g5, and then, I mean, what are you gonna do? Rook e7, and then white can just go crazy, just grabbing material at this point. Right? It's nothing but like computer moves at this point. Rook c1 check, and rook e1 check. Right, king c7, rook takes c1, and then you can see the brutality from there. So the game ended again after rook c takes c6, bishop a5 check, queen c7, queen takes f7, king c8, and bishop takes c7, and Chistiakov resigned. Now, I like that game. Not a lot of people familiar with this game. But if you like attacking play, Nezmetdinov is definitely a good player to look at. Very aggressive, and I chose this game because a lot of people have trouble dealing with like these kind of games, like closed games, like French defense and Caro-Kann, where you want to attack, you want to to fight in the game, but the position, the player doesn't want to open the position. They want to kind of drag you into this long, drawn out game where the position is pretty much closed and you can't get through, and your lead in development slowly fades away, right? Because the lead in development is not going to last forever. Eventually, the opponent is going to catch up, and this game is a good example against a tough French defense, where you can see it's already closed here at move 5. Right? You figure there's no way this game will open up like it did, but just little probing moves like this: queen g4, bishop f8, knight b5. That's probably like the star move of the game. And then again, black made that mistake in playing g6, where we discussed that c takes d4 is definitely the superior move to play here. But hey, that's chess. There's always you know, somebody has to do wrong in order for the game to somebody for there to be a victor. And then opening up the position. So again, in summary, just remember that if you have a lead in development, you must find a way to open up the position if you are going to win. By an attack or something like that. You must find a way. If you can't open up the position, the opponent will catch up and perhaps equalize, or you just have to try to work out a different advantage in the position. But if you do get an early lead in development, you want to make great efforts to try to get that position open. Sometimes you might have to sacrifice pawns, or sometimes in pieces. It can be very dangerous if that's not your character and style of play. Maybe you shouldn't play like that. But that's the normal recipe when it comes to winning with the lead in development. It's a temporary advantage, and therefore you got to step on the gas pedal, as you can see Nezmetdinov did here. Okay, because if the position is closed, there's nothing that you can really, you're not going to be able to benefit off of having more pieces in the game than your opponent. And you can see here how now White's lead in development is telling. He has 2 more pieces out than his opponent, and the position has 2 clear open files in the C and E file. And you can see just the difference. Now that the position is open, there is nothing that black can do. He's too far behind. Even though he tries his best, White just simply uses the initiative and his tactical vision and causes his opponent to capitulate. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Please support my channel by clicking on the links below. And I'd like to hear from you in the comments section. And I will be looking at some more games soon. All right, I'll see you guys on the next video.